Chapter 1916, I choose Park Guochang as the leader. Ken Sain, who had been affected by the karma, was unable to resist Jang Yi's attack at this time. Because his mind was filled with those cursed voices, black flames were spewing from all 7 of his orifices. So the sword cut him in half without any hindrance, directly from the chest area. Puh! The upper half of his body flew out sideways, blood splattering. Jang Yi's backhanded sword immediately reversed, slashing his body in midair into a pulp. Boom! The fire of karma burned fiercely, as if sensing Ken Sain's death, so those aggrieved and indebted people also became pleased. However, Jang Yi did not completely relax, because his sixth sense told him that Ken Sain was not completely dead. Rumble! A loud rumble sounded in front of him. Jang Yi turned his head and looked at the huge pyramid. The sun disk stood on the top of the tower, but at this time, the golden surface on the disk was falling, and even the huge stones that made up the pyramid were collapsing with a rumble. It was as if the protective shell of an egg had been peeled away, revealing what was hidden inside. A huge green pillar stood in front of Jang Yi and Yang Xinxin. Its material is very similar to bronze, and the traces of time on its surface have formed green rust spots. It is more than 200 meters high, and the first thing that came to Jang Yi's mind when he saw it was a famous mythical piece of equipment, the Pillar of the Sea. However, this is obviously not the artifact from the ancient myth of the Huashu Kingdom that stands in the middle of the East Sea. It has that ancient aura and a feeling that makes people want to worship at first sight, which Jang Yi and Yang Xinxin were able to determine at a glance. It is the seal of the demon king Mammon, or the seal of the top primordial beast Zhu Jiuyin, that they have been longing to find, the spear of Longinus. It would be an exaggeration to describe it as a spear, because there are probably not many people in the world who could wield such a huge spear. But combined with Mammon's towering body, this is the only seal worthy of it. Yang Xinxin said in a deep voice, Commander Sain has dematerialized himself and attached himself to the spear of Longinus. No wonder my attacks had no effect on it. According to what the Holy See of the Eastern Orthodox Church said, this huge seal has been in existence for at least millions of years, and was left behind by humans from the previous generation at the very least. The spiritual power it contains is unimaginably powerful. This is why a small warlord like Ken Sain, who came from a small place, was able to become the king of the Keiji kingdom in a short period of time. Rumble! Suddenly, the bronze pillar shook violently, and from between the gaps in the rust, a dazzling golden light exploded. A magnificent power enveloped Jang Yi and Yang Xinxin. Commander Sain had revealed his true self, and he was going to fight to the death with the two of them. However, even after seeing this artifact that has been passed down since ancient times, Jang Yi's eyes did not show the slightest fear. In his left eye, the needle of the old pendulum slowly swung back and forth, able to see through everything that would happen in the next 4 seconds. The spear of Longinus is not a weapon, it is merely a seal that carries a powerful psychic force. Having lost its source of power and suffering from a backlash, Ken Sain was completely delusional to try to use it to defeat Jang Yi. Jang Yi opened a crack in the demon god armor on his body and wrapped Yang Xinxin inside. Then the next instant, he raised his left hand, with his 5 fingers spread open, and aimed at the sky above his head. Boom! A huge black ball suddenly appeared above his head, like a black sun. But this was completely different from Commander Sain's ability, because it was filled with pain, hatred, and destruction. This move is the second of Jang Yi's ultimate techniques, which was obtained after his talent was enhanced through the baptism of the spiritual ocean in the Tianyu Palace, and after witnessing the ultimate battle between the Demon King Mammon and the 4 knights. Using one's own space as a vessel, one absorbs all damage and then converges it, doubling it and sending it back at the enemy. The longer the battle goes on, the more attacks Jang Yi carries, and the more powerful this move becomes. This is an enhanced version of the full counter ability, as it can gather strength from small amounts. Because this move is so powerful, even the caster himself cannot fully control it, so when Jang Yi uses this move, he has learned to use armor with strong defensive capabilities to withstand the damage. The entirety of what Ken Sain had previously inflicted upon him was now released all at once. This move, once unleashed, overshadowed Ken Sain's attacks. His spirit body emerged on the spear of Longinus, his face contorted in terror at the prospect of death. No! His hideous face contorted as he roared at Jang Yi, "What good will killing me do you? I am the savior of the KG kingdom, it is I who allows these pigs and dogs to live well, safe from the Euro-dogs in the heretical church. They should all be thanking me. At least they're still alive, aren't they? Do you really think that killing me will make this country a better place? If after I die, the KG kingdom becomes even more chaotic and more people die, can you bear the responsibility?" Facing Ken Sain's last-ditch struggle, Jang Yi just gave a contemptuous laugh. "Do I need you to teach me what to do?" Jang Yi never regarded himself as a saint. He only wanted to do what his conscience would allow. He wanted to kill Ken Sain because he felt that Ken Sain deserved to die, and that was as simple as that. As for what the KG kingdom would become after his death, Jang Yi would not take responsibility for it. If the existing dictatorship was not overthrown for fear of making things worse, then everyone would just have to watch as everyone became a slave to the dictator. Change is a good thing. At least for now. The dark sphere grew larger and larger, and the darkness on its surface slowly cracked, filling the entire space with a terrifying power. "Ken Sain," Jang Yi said, looking down on Ken Sain, who was attached to the spear of Longinus, from midair. "This is the price you pay for extinguishing all humanity and treating others like pigs and dogs to toy with." As soon as the words fell, the huge black ball in the sky suddenly exploded. The black light swept through everything around it, instantly consuming everything. The sin of deceiving the living people. This was Jang Yi's final judgment on Ken Sain. All the ferocity he had inflicted on Jang Yi was doubled and rebounded back. The spirit that had attached itself to the spear of Longinus was unable to resist in the slightest, and was simply torn away by the black light, which burned it like grass in a fire, before igniting and incinerating it. Ken Sain's death was extremely miserable. Even though he was reduced to a spirit, he was constantly tormented by the grievances of the people of the KG kingdom, and eventually he vanished into thin air. According to the theory of heaven and hell that Ling had originally espoused, all the evil he had inflicted on others in this life would be experienced all over again after he returned to the ether. This was the origin of the legendary hell. While others are in heaven, others are in hell. The difference between the two depends on what one's earthly body does to others. In a wail of soul-rending grief, Ken Sain fell into hell. The whole world fell silent. Jang Yi could no longer feel his breath, and all he could see was a huge bronze pillar standing in the vast golden desert. It was still sunset and the wind was blowing. He looked at the huge bronze pillar and couldn't help but walk towards it. What kind of magic did this object, which had been sealed since ancient times, possess? It was as if something was calling to him. Yang Xinshin saw this and called out Jang Yi's name. "Brother, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? Are you still conscious?" She soon received a reply from Jang Yi. "Don't worry, I'm fine. I just have a special feeling that makes me want to touch it. Maybe through it, we can learn how the ancient humans sealed up the Drucker gods." Yang Xinshin then let her guard down. Jang Yi walked up to the huge bronze pillar. The pillar, which was over 200 meters high, looked like a giant mountain. Jang Yi extended his hand and placed it on top of the bronze pillar. In an instant, a powerful spiritual awareness flooded his mind, transporting his spiritual awareness to another world. A huge amount of information poured into his mind like crazy. He heard the sounds of chaotic battles and shouts of death all around him. He vaguely saw dozens of demon gods towering above the world, wrapped in the endless resentment of the dead, furiously slaughtering all their enemies before them. Among these Drucker titans, there was the figure of Mammon. This was an era of unknown antiquity, the images were very blurry, and the humans he saw only had some of the characteristics of humans. Most of them instead displayed the characteristics of animals. Some had the heads of snakes, some resembled lizards, some had huge wings growing from their backs, and some had the heads of mammals. With astonishing strength and endless numbers of individuals covering the mountains and plains, they launched fearless assaults against the giant gods, like a group of ants with no fear of death trying to subvert the gods. The sky was filled with dark clouds, like endless dark mountains. Thunder roared and roamed among the dark clouds, and a howl came from the sky. Jang Yi vaguely saw the scaled claws of a giant beast, but could hardly catch a glimpse of its full appearance. And yet it was fighting two Drucker titans in the sky. The sky resounded with booming sounds, and a gale swept down from the sky. The earth and mountains crumbled, and the rivers and seas boiled. The body of a huge Drucker titan fell straight from the sky to the ground, and its body was actually split into two. It turns out that in ancient times, there were powerful existences that were strong enough to contend with the Drucker gods. Jang Yi thought of the story Ling had told him. The Yihen tribe could contend with Drucker and even defeat it, but they chose to seal themselves away and forsake the mortal world, so they have been in hiding ever since. Later, in order to eliminate the bug that he himself had created, the Drucker, Kagago created the Arcs and the Ecuadorians, who had fought against the Drucker gods for a long time. The image was extremely blurry, and at the very end, Jang Yi saw bloody rain falling from the sky. Mammon's body was pierced from the mouth by a huge bronze pillar, and then slammed onto the surface of the planet. Mammon fell into a vast ocean, the water splashing high into the sky. Countless ancient human warriors swarmed over him and used all kinds of high-tech weapons that Jang Yi couldn't understand to seemingly seal him away. Jang Yi understood that what he had seen were the ancient heroic spirit's thoughts, that had been preserved on the spear of Longinus. He had once asked the Undertaker of Tantra about the creation of forbidden weapons. The other's explanation was that powerful forbidden weapons must be sacrificed with a living creature, and the most supreme living sacrifice must be a human. Put plainly, it is to use the strong thoughts of living creatures before they die to form special weapons. And the more special the identity and status of the person who died, the more living sacrifices there were, the greater the power of the forbidden weapon. To explain it in terms of the current method, the effect of a mutant of epsilon level sacrificed alive would be better than that of 1,000,000 ordinary people. One can imagine how many lives were sacrificed to seal Mammon in the spear of Longinus. However, it does not exude any resentment, but is magnificent, standing here with an imposing and peaceful air. Jang Yi's hand gently caressed the bronze pillar. He knew that in the desperate situation when the ancient humans were about to be completely annihilated by the Drucker gods, countless ancients volunteered to sacrifice their lives. A great sacrifice. The thoughts of the loyal and brave are purer and stronger than the evil thoughts of the senselessly killed. Jang Yi's heart was filled with endless emotion. Perhaps one day, they too will need to use the lives of many people to create forbidden weapons to save the world. But at this moment, suddenly, a strange feeling welled up in Jang Yi's heart. He closed his eyes and found himself in the middle of a sea of light. This is the Sea of Ether? Jang Yi was shocked. In the past, he was only able to connect to the ether after entering deep sleep on certain nights. But now, he was clearly still awake, so how could he connect to the ether? However, soon, Jang Yi realized that this was not the ethereal sea of the ether. Rather, it was a special field created using the spear of Longinus as a carrier for the power of faith. Ken Sain is dead, and the spear of Longinus has become ownerless. It has extremely special significance in this land. It can even be said that from the day they were born, all the people living on this continent were given a special mission by their previous generation of angels, that is, the gods who created them, the previous generation of humans. Guard the seal of this place well, and wait for the day the Demon King is born, to seal him once again. Because of this, whoever can obtain the spear of Longinus can obtain the power of faith, which is extremely powerful. Jang Yi felt an extremely strong impulse well up in his heart. If he was willing to accept the will carried by the spear of Longinus, he could become the most powerful human in the world. Even if he faced those powerful underground civilizations, he could fight them. This was an irresistible temptation. Who wouldn't want to become stronger? Just as his heart was burning with passion, a cold voice sounded in his ear, pouring cold water over his somewhat confused mind. Brother, don't forget what happened to Ken Sain. Jang Yi suddenly came back to his senses, looked at the huge bronze pillar in front of him, and a cold sweat broke out on his back. He almost became the second sun hanging over the KG kingdom. He quickly withdrew his hand and took a few steps back. The power of faith is not a good thing, and it is even less suitable for me now. This kind of thing carries the risk of being countered, and power that does not belong to you is ultimately not safe. What's more, he couldn't remain the local emperor in the KG kingdom forever. And he had a vague feeling that this power might bring disaster to himself. He couldn't explain exactly why. But he knew for sure that he had never seen any superpowerful person from any ancient civilization obtain their power in this way. It's really dangerous. I was so close that I almost couldn't resist the temptation, Jang Yi said with a deep breath. Yang Xinxin looked at Jang Yi. Brother, we can't use this thing, but we also can't give it to anyone else. It's too dangerous, and we must keep it in our own hands. Moreover, a sly look flashed in her eyes. Keeping it in our hands may one day become an important tool. Jang Yi nodded, and he made up his mind. Even though the people of the church claimed that this was just a sealed object, he also wanted to keep it in his own hands. Jang Yi opened his right hand, opened the dimensional gate, and sent the huge bronze pillar into dimensional space. As the spear of Longinus disappeared, the world in front of them also collapsed with a loud noise, revealing the outside world. Jang Yi and Yang Xinxin saw the chaotic prison city. There was war everywhere, the city was burning, and the crazed outer city residents were looting everything in the central and inner cities. Jang Yi didn't feel much emotion. It was a necessary price to pay for the new order that would follow the destruction. He sent a message to everyone on the communication channel. Mission accomplished. Uncle Yu, Fatty Su, Liang Yu and the others all turned their heads in surprise, but then again, there wasn't too much surprise. Because in their hearts, Jang Yi's every action should achieve such success. He never fights a battle he is not sure of winning. The group quickly flew towards the location of Jang Yi. The entire island had turned into a deep valley, and the water in the lake had completely evaporated. Many years later, a monument was erected in this place to commemorate the heroes who helped the KG kingdom complete its liberation movement. Jang Yi, are you okay? Boss, you're amazing to have finished off the people on the other side so quickly. Haha, but I also defeated a very strong opponent, so I'm pretty awesome too, hee. Fatty Su scratched the back of his head, looking smug as he took credit. Jang Yi gave a faint smile. On the communication channel, Liu Karen was driving the snow all towards them at top speed. Jang Yi said to them, "We have the spear of Longinus in our hands, and our mission is over." However, he paused, his gaze sweeping over the chaotic city. "We also need to finish the job of cleaning up the mess we've left behind." No one could say for sure what direction the future KG Congress would take. It might be better, or it might be worse, but Jang Yi would calm the unrest. He would not replace Ken Sain and become the new ruler of this place. Because that would break the rules of the game, personally intervene in other countries to launch armed actions to overthrow the ruler's regime, and then become the actual ruler. This would inevitably arouse the jealousy of all other countries in the international community, and would cause great trouble for Jang Yi's future actions. Moreover, he himself was not keen on becoming a ruler, so the best way was to find a puppet and let him take the seat of Ken Sain to manage the country well. So Jang Yi asked the crowd, "Are there any senior members of the KG kingdom, especially the 5-star generals, still alive?" At this time, a trembling figure not far away let out a flattering voice. "Your Excellency, I, Park Guochang, am willing to swear my loyalty to you to the death." Jang Yi looked over, and Park Guochang was hunched over, his face full of flattery, as if he couldn't wait to get on the ground and crawl over to him to lick the soles of his shoes. "Uncle Yu said, this is the only one of the 5-star generals still alive, named Park Guochang. The 4-star generals died in battle, but Park Guochang was the only one who knew when to do what was right. He saw that the situation was not right and immediately surrendered, and without any hesitation he betrayed his former comrades." Uncle Yu said to Jang Yi, "This is a guy who has no dignity or loyalty. Do you want to hand over the KG kingdom to someone like this?" Jang Yi raised the corners of his mouth. "That's even better, isn't it? An excellent politician should have such flexible and adaptable abilities." What's more, what Jang Yi needs is precisely an obedient guy. He waved at Park Guo-chan, who, with a gleam of hope in his eyes, hurriedly ran up to Jang Yi, his back almost touching the ground as he bowed his head. Park Guo-chan was both excited and terrified, for he knew that Ken Sain had been killed by the man in front of him. What kind of terrifying power was this? A mere handful of people had overthrown a regime that the Nordic countries had been unable to conquer for 3 years. He felt even more in awe. He shouted, "I am willing to devote everything to you, Your Excellency." Jang Yi looked coldly at the man in front of him, Park Guo-chan. "From today onwards, you are the new commander-in-chief of the KG Kingdom." Park Guo-chan was stunned, and an indescribable feeling of ecstasy welled up within him. He had bet correctly. Was he about to become the king of the KG Kingdom? His happiness came too suddenly. Jang Yi continued, "What Ken Sain has done has been made public, and he has become the enemy of the people. Just nominate you and say that you are in charge here and have overthrown his rule. At that time, you will become the new sun that never sets." When he heard the words "sun that never sets," Park Guo-chan's heart trembled. What, a sun that never sets? Wasn't Ken Sain shot down? No, 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 I dare not think such thoughts. Everything I have is a gift from you, Your Excellency. I, Park Guo-chan, will swear undying loyalty to you. I will do whatever you tell me to do. Jang Yi said indifferently, "I only ask you to do one thing, let the people of this country live like human beings. Too much clarity kills the fish. I won't ask you to be free of total corruption. Just don't be cruel. That shouldn't be too hard, should it? The KG Kingdom has some of the best land in the world. With a slightly more normal ruler, the people here can definitely live well. Otherwise, why are the Nordic countries trying so hard to immigrate to the Phasio continent?